you know. Such a pretty smile, I want to see it once in a while. But you were right for me. You were right for me.
All right. It's time for Real Raw Recovery. I'm Joe Tilley, and I'm talking to you from Bond Head, Ontario.
I'm Tyler Tilley, talking to you from Bangkok, Thailand.
Okay. Let's open with just a quick moment of silence with a Serenity We prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. Okay, so I guess we'll open with the reading, today's reading.
Yeah, cool.
From Daily Reflections. Vigilance. We have seen the truth demonstrated again and again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Commencing to drink after a period of sobriety, we are in a short time as bad as ever. If we are planning to stop drinking, there must be no reservation of any kind, nor any lurking notion that someday we will be immune to alcohol. That's from the Alcoholics Anonymous book, page 33. And it says here, today I am an alcoholic. Tomorrow will be no different. My alcoholism lives within me now and forever. I must never forget what I am. It's a temporary sin. I am dealing with my disease for which there is no cure, only daily acceptance and vigilance.
So you kind of cut out there.
Yeah.
So instead of I'll just quickly reread the last part. Today I'm an alcoholic, tomorrow will be no different. My alcoholism lives within me now and forever. I must never forget what I am. Alcohol will surely kill me if I fail to recognize and acknowledge my disease on a daily basis. I'm not playing a game in which a loss is a temporary setback. I'm dealing with my disease, for which there is no cure, only daily acceptance and vigilance.
Yeah. So it can be fatal. It is almost always fatal. And if I don't do something about it now, and if I don't stay, if I don't have vigilance, if I'm not vigilant about my recovery, then I'm going to die. So that's pretty straightforward. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Nothing ever changes. Once you turn that cucumber into a pickle, it's always going to be a pickle, and there's no way to change it back to a cucumber. And so, that's the analogy that I hear all the time, and that makes sense to me. It's simple, makes sense to me, and it's strong language. Alcohol will surely kill me if I fail to recognize and acknowledge my disease on a daily basis. The problem is the liar in my head tells me, oh, it's not that bad. It's not going to kill you. I mean, really, I don't hear from that liar in the same way I used to hear from when I was newly sober, listening to the liar more frequently. But I've seen the liar at work and so many other people that I worked with over the years that the liar's more subtle for me. For me, it's just it's just as simple as, okay, so you haven't got down on your knees yet to ask for help today. Don't worry about it. And you know what I've had to do is I've had to say, no, shut up. I've found room in a bathroom stall and gotten on my knees, which is kind of gross when you think about it.
I thought you did that all the time.
Yeah, well, getting on my knees in the bathroom stall?
Yeah.
I thought I did that all the time? Yeah.
I thought that was a regular occurrence.
Was a regular occurrence, yeah. Listen, I have to break to go into the bathroom stall and get on my knees. I'll be right back.
At your local gym.
At the gym. Whoa. Yeah. So So it's So that's how it works for me. But you know what? I don't listen to the liar very rarely when it comes to stuff like that. Like, you know, when it comes to anything dealing with my sobriety, I don't listen to that liar. I mean, I can't think of it. You know, I guess the way that I might listen to the liar is I might not be as vigilant about my recovery as I know I should be, maybe. I'm trying to think of an example, but you know, maybe I think I should call a certain guy and I don't, and I haven't got around to it. But the thought is there. I just haven't got around to it. I guess that's when, but that's just kind of forgetting, really. That's what it boils down to. So I'm trying to think of how the liar tries to work into my life today. And I know it's there. I just can't think of it right now. Do you have any examples where the disease liar like talks to you and tries to get you to think a certain way or do something that's not cool?
I know we are a little bit on different paths, so I would like to, in this instance, meet you in the middle somewhere. But like, I believe that I don't really know if I'm comfortable defining it as a disease in the same way that you do. I think that I do have perhaps a disorder that I would classify as obsessive and compulsive. And that I've learned that it's not necessarily lies, but it can be unhealthy behavior. So for example, like so you got to hear me out. Are you sitting down?
Yep.
So in the context that you think, not to put words in your mouth, but how I think you think of the disease is that, for example, if you took my instance of going to one casino, losing a bunch of money, and then thinking if I go to another casino the same night, I can get my money back.
Right.
And so you would classify that as a lie, like your brain's just.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's okay, fine. It's I would call it unhealthy. And as far as just for my point in this instance, yes, it's right. It's clearly insane in some facets, and in others, it's just I'm wrapped up in my compulsion. So
yeah.
Now let's change. I still have that same behavior with other things. So for example, if I push this week and I get 3 paintings and I get them into the gallery by the end of the week, it will pay off for you. But so it's the same compulsion, whereas all of a sudden that like all else falls by the wayside and I get those 3 paintings done with the same vigor as I did when I was driving from one casino to the next. Nothing's going to get in my way. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being brutally honest. It's the same compulsion or the same vigilance or the same determination, the same desire, the same overwhelming compulsion. I've just changed the dynamics. That doesn't leave me. I've learned that just doesn't go away whether I pray or help somebody new, I will always have that, whether it's active or not. Like if I'm working with somebody else, I'm not caught up in my own brain and just tinkering in my room or painting in my room. That's true. So sometimes I need a break from that, but it's always just waiting for me when I get home. It's not like I can take it, or I can. So I've learned to live with that. I've learned to live with that. And so that's not a, so what I've learned is that in a way you could, sometimes it's a lie, because the weekend that I thought if I get the 3 paintings done and I get them all hung up, it will be a successful weekend, and it wasn't. Well, then is that a lie? In some cases, yes, I guess I lied to myself. I was wrong. It didn't work out how I thought. And I pushed really hard, long days, and organized myself and pushed and got it all done at all costs. And it didn't work out. And then there's sometimes I have that same pathology or the same compulsion. Okay, if you do this and you pitch it to all these people, somebody out of those 10 people will bite and buy it. So get it done now. Because you need to survive, you need to eat, and you need to gain momentum, or whatever my brain says. That's the same thinking that I was thinking when I was driving from one casino to the next. You could say it's absolutely insane, but my brain's saying, like, if you want to get that money back now, there's no other way but to go to another casino. Now, the whole concept is that I got myself into that position in the first place is the problem. My brain's just trying to solve it now with what it has. And it's not necessarily insane or bad or a lie. It's just trying to like figure out, okay, fuck, you fucked up. Plus then you add the compulsion. So now it's like, it's a bit of a mess. But what I'm saying is, and then I'll throw it back to you, is that I still have obsession and compulsion today, all the time. And I try to wrangle it, or I try to use it. And sometimes it works against me, where it's like, man, you just did a bunch of shit. And that was just kind of like, you spent money you don't have. The idea didn't come to, like, you didn't end up, like, there's a lot of factors, but like the way my mind works is it's always like the wheels are always spinning. And then when it's like, okay, I pinpoint, okay, I want to do this now. Then all of a sudden it's like all my energy gets swamped into there. And that can be a detriment. Sometimes it's like, no, man, you probably should have broken up today. You probably should have went for a walk, maybe hit a meeting, broken it up. And then the other half of me is like, no, man, I needed you full blitz. I needed all gear. I had no room for anything else. And so that's what I balance, is like no room for anything else, and trying to like intercept that thinking, because sometimes it's not good. And that's the same thinking that I was doing with drugs and alcohol. It's just the outlet, the specific thing that I was obsessive and compulsive over was, in these terms, killing me.
Right. But do you think you have control over the ability to obsess or be compulsive?
Yes and no.
So, I mean, for example, I mean, like I think most people would say that the obsessive compulsive behavior where you're driving from one casino to the next to try to get your money back, it may be, the obsessive compulsive behavior to work like shit and like crazy to get your paintings done so you can have something really good to sell the weekend. I think most people would say one is good, one is not, right? I think most people would agree with that. So is there a way for you, if you've got an obsessive compulsive disorder and behavior, is there a way for you to say, I'm going to, either I'm going to direct this compulsive obsessive behavior to something more positive, or to say I've got a really I'm really in a really obsessive compulsive state right now. I need to take a step back and just breathe for a while. Is there? Can you do either of those two things?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It's not black and white.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing for me. I mean, sometimes I get obsessive compulsive. I get an idea in my head, and I go with it, and follow that out. You know, get an idea to call somebody about a sponsorship idea or something like that. And anyway, that's how it works with me. And then I'll run with that for a while, and then till it stops, and then I'll go pick something else up. But yeah, I think I have the same kind of issue.
Like even like, so sometimes I question, like, again, to be even further honest, is about like, there's two concepts that I just take a look at from time to time, is like even how they would classify being a workaholic, right?
Yeah.
And then also being not stopping to smell the roses is another, like, kind of like not stopping to see what I've built or what I'm building and having a look at it. But the interesting gift about painting is often while I'm painting, I feel an overwhelming sense of either joy or connectedness. Maybe not joy, connectedness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I'm obsessing over something that's ultimately pretty awesome. So it's kind of like, you know, it's almost like, imagine like back when you're boxing, it's like, in order to win, you got to be in the gym twice a day, and like your whole world revolves around it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, that's what I do. And so in theory, you go, yeah, well, boxing at the end of the day is good unless you're counting concussions. But for the most part,
right,
the whole building of character and the building of your, I think the best way to put it is, yeah, building your character and building your personal development. And I think that's what I'm doing. And it's kind of like, the longer I've been doing it, and now the older I'm getting, the more it's like, the more I just keep doubling down. And I feel like having had some severe issues with gambling, I've kind of just changed currencies in a sense, or I've changed the game, but I gamble all the time, but just in a different platform. And so, like, I have to question that too, because it drives me insane a little bit, because it is gambling. For me, it's all gambling. Like, is this, like, yeah, it's all gambling, because I risk it all. I put it all on the table, and then I hope some of my numbers hit. And if my numbers hit, if it's like, first I get to eat, next I get to pay rent, and then next, and you know, like paying all the bills, and then it's like, okay, now can I put some money away or pay off debts or blah blah blah, and nothing else is getting in the way of that. I just won't let it. And I've kind of made that personal commitment to myself. But that's scary, man. It's very like intense. And there's no, I unfortunately, where I'm at in my life right now anyway, it's like, I won't let myself go, okay, well, get a part-time job to help take care of that, or like do something else as well. Like it's just no, like there's, I have the foresight and the insanity to deny that kind of regular, I think maybe normal behavior that most people would do.
Yeah, I think that you know, everybody makes decisions and choices based on you know, productivity too, right? So for example, if you were to take, say, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week to get a part-time job, that's 20 hours, right, to go to get a job at Starbucks. And you know, you take your, you know, whatever the whatever the going wage is in Bangkok, and you take that money and you say, okay, so if I work 20 hours a week, this is what I make with tips and everything else, maybe I make say $200 a week or whatever, $300 a week. And what can if I took that same 20 hours and applied it to painting, what would be the result of that? And
That's the gamble.
And that's sure, that's a gamble, but I think that's a gamble everybody makes, right? Everybody who's in, like, for example, business for themselves or sales or anything like that, that's kind of, I think that's the kind of gamble that they're always making, right? They're always going to have to have faith that whatever they're doing is going to be productive. Like if I'm a sales guy, I have to do a certain amount of calls, and I have to do a certain amount of research, a certain amount of product knowledge, time spent to learn the product that I'm selling, and all that stuff. And all this stuff, all that time I spend with the goal in mind that I'm successful in sales. And so it doesn't matter what I think. And if that same person would say, well, if I got a part-time job at Starbucks and I brought in $200 or $300 a week doing that, and then try to work around that, but they probably would say, no, it's probably more productive for me if I spent this time learning my product, learning, making calls, which is going to lead to. So I think everybody has the same kind of, or not everybody, but most people have the same kind of choices they have to make with regards to what is the most productive way to spend my time. And for me, it's like, okay, I look at it like I have, I don't know, say 4 hours, 5 hours a day that I can spend with, either growing my business, or meeting with other drunks, or, and I just have to decide how I'm going to spend my time. But in this booking process that we do, like there's in it, it says, we have our priorities, we have our priorities in life. It's like, what are my priorities? How do I prioritize my time? And it says here, 1 is family, 2 is job, and 3 is the newcomer, in this order. So I have to take care of my family, I have to take care of my job, and then I look after the newcomer. But I think the key is to make sure that I have all 3 facets, that I cover all 3 facets. For me, I don't know, it's kind of like one family, and sometimes I get, I let the job get in the way of the family, and sometimes I'll let the newcomer get in the way of the productivity with the job or with the family. But I think I still have to try to keep the that focus of the proper order, because I'm going to be happier if my relationship is in good shape. I'm going to be happy. If my relationship and my job is taken care of, I'm going to be happy. If my relationship and job and working with others, if there's good balance in that, I'm going to be really happy. And I think that's that's the key, is to find balance. And like you, I tend to have these obsessive compulsive tendencies, so I have to find ways to say, okay, that's enough of that, that's enough to that. I've done enough social media work here for the last 45 minutes, hour, whatever. I need to stop now. I need to focus on some other aspect of my life, and so I have to stop myself, Because otherwise I could just get caught up in it and do it for 5 hours and I go, what happened?
But just to bring it all back around, so the initial question was, how does your disease lie to you, was what you asked me.
Yeah.
And I don't really have like this. I definitely have a brain that from time to time can play, like, question things, or for some reason is willing to go down a certain rabbit hole, or is not in a healthy headspace, or doesn't seem to be serving me, or is causing me suffering or a headache. But I don't think it's, I don't think it's lying. Like, I think it's one thing when you would first get sober, and then your brain would say, oh, you should go out and have a drink, it'll be different this time.
Yeah.
There's just a different mentality for me now, that I like to investigate what the thoughts are coming from, why am I thinking about this? Why am I trying to go down this direction? What's the benefit? I do an analysis of what's happening. Like, today, you would still think that your brain lies to you?
Yeah. And I think it's a little more subtle. It's harder to catch, but I think the way the brain lies to me now is, I think that last example that I gave you, like, for example, the caught up in the social media thing, I think that, that's a problem for a lot of people, and including, it could be and can be for me. So what I have to do is I have to like, if I find myself like getting caught off guard, like sometimes I'll spend an hour going through to texts and emails and Facebook and when my goal was to spend like 5 minutes just to catch up on see how a certain item that I posted, what kind of response it's got, and then I get, next thing you know, I'm stuck for an hour. Mm-hmm. So I think that's how I can be subtle. The disease, the liar, can subtly take over, and so I have to be cognizant of that, and I have to be aware of that, and I have to try to, like, sometimes I have to stop myself and say, stop, like in my head, just stop right now. That's it, Or, it can be watching stuff on YouTube, and I can do it on the TV, and I just have to say, stop, turn off the TV. That's it. That's it. Turn it on to catch up on some sporting events or whatever. And the next thing you know, I'm watching something else, and it's watching YouTubes or, clips, movie clips.
Is the lie, is the lie saying, oh, you can just check your phone for 5 minutes?
Yes. Yeah.
And so do you think sometimes you can check your phone for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
So then it's not lying if you're checking your phone for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but it is when I check my phone for 5 minutes and then an hour later and I'm still checking it. And right. I wanted, and really it might just, and I, you know what, I'm going to go to bed at 11 o'clock because I got to get up early tomorrow. And the next thing you know, it's like 11:45 and I've been on my phone for the last hour and I go, Jesus. All right, go to bed now.
But sometimes you don't lie. Right? That's my point. And that's where I went into my long rant, is because sometimes it ends up being true and sometimes it's not true. So that's what I deal with. Now you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not true. But right. The potential is always there. If I'm not vigilant.
Right, but I'm trying to learning what I'm getting at for me personally and what I deal with, and what I deal with. This is a relevant conversation. It's not about the past at all. It's like my brain says, hey, this is a hypothetical. check the internet, because maybe if you do a bunch of work on social media or this, and you dedicate, like, and you get lost, like I know I'll get lost there, but if you spend that time getting lost there, it will be good for you, because you'll get this, and this back from getting lost. Or maybe a better thing is, like I said about the paintings. If you have an inventory, it's better for you, because then when you sell something, you can take something off the wall and put it up right away without waiting. So like if something sells off the wall, one painting goes down, it goes to the customer, the new painting goes up. Now, if nothing sells, well, then that whole philosophy goes out the window.
Right.
But it could have been true. And sometimes it is true. But what I'm saying is that thought drives me so hard. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not just like, it's not a simple, like, like a complete week, it has now been dedicated to that initial thought. And that's kind of like and that's where I was saying, I don't know if it's lying to me or if it's trying to help me. And then I try to investigate it versus just trying to wipe it off, saying like you're just classifying going on the internet as not good. But I don't know if that's completely true, because you have an internet business and you have like a bunch of internet facts. So there's sometimes where you waste your time away, but there's sometimes you don't. So it's like 50-50. And if it's 50-50, I would never classify that as a lie.
Right.
That's all. Like, so, and that's why, so then it's like, okay. So that's what I deal with. I don't even have necessarily an answer. It's just what I deal with. I don't like calling it a lie. My brain is just trying to do something, and I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to do, brain.
Yeah. Well, I guess I mean, it's just defining the, obsessive compulsive and the destructiveness of it, or putting it to use. And I think it sounds to me like, we're gifted with certain things, and the obsessive compulsive can be a gift, and it can be a problem.
Right.
And I think it's thank God that I have recovery, because it allows me to at least have some sense of what is good and what isn't.
Right.
All right, you ready to close?
Yeah.
Okay. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Such a